My name is Harper Carter. And last Christmas, my father threw me and my wheelchair-bound grandfather into the snow like we were nothing. Not an argument. Not a misunderstanding. He looked straight at us and said, "Take the trash out." And before I tell you how that same man ended up in handcuffs just weeks later, make sure you subscribe because this story proves something most people learn too late. The people who throw you away don't expect you to come back stronger. The night it happened, everything looked perfect. Crystal glasses, gold plates, expensive guests pretending we were a perfect family. Until my grandfather's hand shook. A small piece of turkey slipped from his fork onto the tablecloth. That's all it took. My father stood up so violently the entire room went silent. His face twisted with anger. That's it. And before I could react, he shoved my grandfather's wheelchair toward the door, grabbed my arm, and dragged us outside into the freezing night. The door slammed behind us. And inside, the party continued. Like nothing happened. I knocked. Begged. "Dad, please. Grandpa will freeze." Silence. Then his voice from inside. I said, "Take the trash out." That word stayed with me. Trash. That's what we were to him. That night, I pushed my grandfather through the snow. My hands freezing, my chest burning, trying not to cry in front of him. Because if I broke, he would too. We ended up in my tiny apartment. Broken heater. Cold walls. Barely enough food. And yet, he still apologized. "I'm a burden," he whispered. "No," I said. "You're the only real family I have." That was the night everything changed. Because what I didn't know was that the man my father called useless was hiding a secret worth $2.3 billion. Weeks later, my grandfather asked me to drive him somewhere. No explanation. No address. Just, trust me. We drove past my normal life. The diner. The supermarket. The struggle. Until we reached a massive iron gate. Guards opened it instantly. And then, they saluted him. "Welcome home, Mr. Carter." I froze. Because the man I had been feeding leftovers was being welcomed like royalty. The mansion behind those gates wasn't just big. It was unreal. Staff lined up. Waiting. Respecting him. Calling him Master Carter. That's when he told me the truth. My father didn't just throw us out. He destroyed everything before that. He betrayed his own father. Stole from his company. Forged documents. Even possibly caused the accident that left him in a wheelchair. But my grandfather didn't die. He rebuilt. Silently. Secretly. Stronger. And over 40 years. He built an empire. 109 properties. Multiple industries. Total value. $2.3 billion. Then he looked at me. And said something I'll never forget. "It's yours." Not his son's. Not the perfect family. Mine. Because I stayed. Because I didn't measure him by money. Because I chose him when he had nothing. But that wasn't all. He handed me another folder. Inside it, everything. Every crime my father committed. Emails. Transfers. Audio recordings. 20 years of truth. And then he gave me a choice. Expose him. Or walk away. I didn't answer that night. But the next morning, I knew. I went back to the mansion. The same place where we were thrown out. This time, I walked in without asking. My father laughed when he saw me. Came back for money? I didn't react. I opened the folder and placed it in front of him. The confidence in his eyes disappeared. Then I showed him the second file. The will. $2.3 billion. Not his. Mine. For the first time in my life, I saw fear in his face. Real fear. "You can't do this," he said. "I'm your father." I looked at him calmly. "You stopped being that the night you threw us out." And then I walked away. I didn't argue. I didn't scream. I just ended it. 3 days later, the FBI raided his company. Cameras everywhere. Officers storming the building. And my father, the man who called us trash, was taken out in handcuffs. The empire he built on lies collapsed in front of everyone. The trial lasted weeks. Every crime exposed. Every lie revealed. And in the end, He was sentenced to 22 years in prison. No power. No control. No second chance. Just consequences. But the story doesn't end there. Because the real ending wasn't revenge. It was what came after. My grandfather passed away peacefully. Not as a broken man, but as someone who saw justice. At his funeral, hundreds came. Not rich people. Not powerful people. People he helped. People he saved. People whose lives he changed quietly. That's when I understood something. He didn't build an empire with money. He built it with character. Today, I run everything he left behind. But not the way my father did. We fund scholarships. Support families. Help people who were once where I was. Because the real inheritance wasn't the $2.3 billion. It was this. You don't need power to be valuable. But if you have power, use it right. And every time I walk past that old mansion, I remember one thing. The night we were thrown into the snow was the night we stepped into the truth.